Okay, in order to edit our site, you have to go to the site address here, and then after the site address, you're going to have a slash wp-login.php, and this is standard to all WordPress sites. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. I have a little math problem here, CAPTCHA, so that robots don't try to register. Should hopefully be pretty simple. And it'll load up our dashboard so we can see all of our options. It will occasionally ask you to update. You can, but you don't have to. Sometimes updating will break plugins. So unless there's something going wrong with the website or like things aren't loading, you don't necessarily have to update. You can hide little messages like this. It's just the different plugins trying to get you to donate to them or upgrade. Um, and I generally don't mess, in here too much. Some basic things. You could add a user page, some images, add an event on the calendar. But I usually go through here. I'm going to add something. All of our content is hosted on our pages. So if I click on that, we'll see a huge list of our pages. If you wanted to edit, for instance, what classes are going to happen in the workshop. So I'll go and I'll say edit on that page. And you'll notice that there's two columns going on here, and this represents the organization of the page. So I'm going to right click and open this page in a new tab so we can compare the layout. So you'll see that I have this sort of text column here, and then I've got these images. So how that plays out is all the text is in this visual editor, and then I have the calendar up top. So I've got the calendar up top, and I've got all these. Now I've set this particular calendar to only show classes and workshop events, whereas the calendar on the home page shows all events like meetings, anything that would be of interest to the club whatsoever, including classes. If you need to add more images, say you expand on the text, you can do so. We are going to add a widget, and you can add a SiteOrigin image and edit it, and pretty much just choose media, drag and drop a file in, set the media, and done, and say update. So none of these changes, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it just because I didn't actually put anything in there. But you can edit any of these images as well if you'd like. You could duplicate as well and then switch which image is in it if that's more comfortable. You have to update for it to show on the actual website. You'll see the last update. Actually, that is not the last update. That's when it was published. There's 43 revisions. Oh my gosh. So it keeps track of all this stuff, which is pretty impressive. So yeah, as far as content goes, I'm going to go in the visual editor, edit that. And here's all my text corresponding here. The workshop name is actually coming from the page name, so that's not editable here. But all the text is editable. Generally, I just copy and paste and order the classes in the order they're going to occur. So we'll just go ahead and get rid of, well, for now I'll just keep it. I think it's easier to just keep the formatting and copy and paste. I have demonstrations up here, then classes. And, this information may change depending on who's teaching and whatnot. So anyway, you can just copy and paste as you would normally. And when you're done, you just say done, and then you update. Pretty straightforward as far as just changing basic text. But do always pay attention to the structure of the page. I'm trying to think, like for the show page, for instance, it's going to be a little different. So you see I start with the two columns, and then I've got these sections that are across. If I go to the show page, leave. I don't need to update it. I didn't change anything. we'll edit the show page. And so it's a little more complicated, right? So this visual editor is this. And then this one is this. I have all these little pictures here. If you're not sure, you can always go and edit something. And these are single pics. These are called shortcodes. And they come from different WordPress plugins. And I'll show you how to input images this way from the gallery. You have to do it a little bit differently than just dragging it in. But yeah, never feel afraid to just sort of edit and kind of see, like, okay. So if you see I did the columns, right, so these are those columns, 1, 2, 3. So one chunk, 1, 2, 3. Pictures from past show, promotional materials. But never feel afraid to just go and look. Because remember, nothing saves unless you hit this update button. So you've got to go around and look and see. You know, if you're to accidentally drag something, you'll see that, let's say I do this, I'll go ahead and update it. So you can see what happens. And I have to refresh out here to see the results. And not a whole lot, actually. Because let's see, these are those pictures. Yeah, it just switched the pictures from past shows. So link and the pictures. So if I refresh it now it's there. So that's all it is. So moving those blocks, they're like building blocks. So moving them around changes where things are positioned. You really shouldn't have to edit that aspect of it, but don't feel upset if something does move, because it's okay. You can move it back, no big deal. And remember, nothing saves until you update. That's super important. If you want to see your changes before you actually make them permanent and live to the public, you can preview those changes, and it'll show you them without making it public. I didn't make any changes, so nothing to be seen. But you know, sometimes it's good to kind of see what's going on. Oh man, those are my revisions. And then I've done no sidebar for every page, so don't stress out about this. Again, not really important. You're just trying to edit that content. So figuring out which box you're going into, and then editing it. Do what you need, saying done, updating. So that's just the basics of how the pages are structured and just some simple edits that you can do on the website.